Hello friends, welcome back to the channel Codify, and in this video we are going to talk about today about the promise in JavaScript. Promise is a better way of handling the asynchronous call than callback function. Uh, Callback function is also used to do uh, the asynchronous and synchronous calls also. I mean callback and the promise gives a better control on the function execution sequence. We will talk about that. Um, the problem with callback is that in the real project, it becomes lengthy. It becomes difficult to debug and understand it. But with promise, it is cleaner, easy to understand, and easy to debug. And also, promise gives us uh, the gives us about the function execution result, either it is got failed or success. So that's why promise has three state: pending, fulfill, and rejected. So pending is that in the process, fulfill is that it has successfully executed, or if there is any error, that is got rejected. The error you can get due to various reason, due to the business logic reason. You can use the rejected state. We will see that this error can also happen because of maybe network call, maybe IO operation issue. So let's just start a little bit about promise, and then we will also change this example, the callback health situation, into the promise. Okay, using the promise object. Okay, so first let's create a file called test.js, and let's create promise. So I'm going to say let my process is equal to new promise. Okay, in the promise constructor we have an executor and a function, callback function, which has resolve. Resolve will have a value because it got successfully executed, so there is a chance that definitely it might have some value. Okay, and there would be a reject parameter which will give us the reason why it got failed. Okay, we can use the resolve and reject function as per our business logic also. Try to let's see an example. So let's do this what we call resolve and reject. Okay, and then implement. So our business logic goes here. Okay, our logic goes here. Whatever the logic we are trying to do, if we are trying to call an API, if we are trying to do some IO operation, whatever. So our business logic goes here. So let me create a value called um, email. Just I'm trying to create something, some scenario to pass and fail. Okay, email. Okay, and here there is no email. Okay, the initial value is no email. Okay, here I am writing some logic, but ideally there would be some asynchronous call. Asynchronous call means that some API call or something like that. Okay, so but here I'm just doing some simple logic. I'm saying mm, I'm assigning here email a valid email ID. Okay, valid email ID means it will have a at the rate, and maybe it will have a com. Okay, so I am done with my logic, my business logic. Okay, whatever logic I have to write, so I'm done with that logic, and I have to send the result. It is, if it is success, I have to send the resolve, and I can send the value, or the result that I want to send to the next process. Okay, next, chain of promise. Okay, so here I am saying, maybe let's calculate something. I mean, make some condition check. If email dot includes, let's say I'm just saying, at the rate. Okay, sorry, at the rate, and maybe let's just that. Okay, so I can say it is resolved. This is okay for me. Like, you got some API call, and you validated that, and say, okay, this is fine. So what we can return, let's say I'm just in terms of HTTP call, I'm returning here 200. Else I'm returning here, so I'm rejecting here. I'm saying, if it is not a email ID, if it is not a correct email ID, then I'm rejecting it, and I'm saying 500. Okay, and then now try to run the application. Note, what is that? Test.js. Nothing happened. So the promise as we defined, it's not going to run. And let's try to do one more thing. Can I say my process? My process. If I say that, what's going to happen? Nothing. If I say something like this, it's not going to do. Yeah, it's going to give an error. Something like it's not a, what the error it is giving. My process is not a function. Okay. So how it is got called? So this, I mean, my intention was to show, like, the promise is not called this way. Promise is called this way. Okay. Promise has handler. Okay. So let me show. This called then. You see this? It has dot. Then catch and finally. Okay. Let's see this first. Then we can get here the value. Okay, so let me write something here, then, and then catch. Okay, catch will have something called error, and this, and then finally. Okay, uh, what do I need to write here? Okay, finally does finally have some error? Oh, okay. So when the my process here, it is very, clear way of writing or calling or handling, clear way of handling this asynchronous call. If it is success, then what you want to do, you have the success value. As a result, you have something in hand to perform whatever you want to do if the process is successful. So process is successful, then what you want to do, let's console.log and print the value. Okay, if it is error, what you want to do, you can perform something, console.log here I want to print the error. Okay, and finally I want to say console.log and I can say done. Okay, so finally will always be executed, and if the process runs successfully, then it will comes into this block, then block. If it has any error, it will come to this error block, catch block. Okay, now try to run this. See this 200 and done. So you can understand, you already know about what does finally block do. In the finally block, mostly we write that some resource releasing logic. Okay, uh, some kind of connection release, IO operation release, IO resource release. So we can write that here. So now try to make some error. Okay, I am not assigning the correct email, any email. Now try to see what's going to happen. See, as a result, we got from rejected. Okay, from rejected the 500. Okay, so this is one kind of different I see between the callback function and the promise object, is that we can get something in result. So further chaining the chaining the promise is easy and based on the coming result, and this is in a clean way. Okay, now and always remember to return a promise. Okay, uh, let me create one more promise, and I'm saying I'm going to chain, I'm going to do the promise chaining. So I'm saying let me my second process, okay, is equal to new promise, again the same thing, resolve reject. Okay, and here I'm just saying console.log, and I'm saying what, second process done. Okay, and I'm saying I'm resulting here resolve. uh, okay. Okay, so you can also see one more thing is that, mm, it's not necessary to call both of the function. Okay, it is up to you as per the business logic, as per the method implementation you can think of, and return the value that you want. So here I'm just doing that resolve. Okay, so now how I can change is that, so I can do chaining here. Mm, so after successful execution of my process, I can call the my second process. Okay, so what is going to happen is that the result of this successful process will be available here. Whatever the successful result value we have supplied, we returned in the resolve function, that will be available here. Okay, so the successful execution of, because one execution will take occurrence here because we are calling the process promise here. So the successful result will be changed here and resulting here. Okay, for the second execution, second function execution. Okay, let's just print that console.log and save value. Okay, so now try to run the program and see the result. Okay, so there is one tricky thing. You see what I was expecting here, we will get 500 first because we are getting error. Okay, we are getting error. I mean, we have not initialized the email, so it's not a correct email. So we will get into this block, and we will get this first, and then we will get uh, we will get done. We will get done, and our second process should not be executed. I was just thinking like we will get that 500 and done. Okay, we will not get that second process done. So there is a catch. Catch means the catch handling is not properly done. So we are doing catch here. After the second process, we should actually do the catch here. Okay. So every chain can have its own catch. Okay. Uh, Now let's try to run the program as it is. Okay, so we are getting 500 and we are getting undefined. Undefined is um, because the second process does not run. Okay, so basically the process, this my process failed up and it gone here. Okay, it's gone to here, and so if it came here, the no execution of this happened. That's why this value is undefined, and the finally is done. You got my point? It did not get into this block, so the execution of this second process did not occur, did not happen. Okay, so that's why if this did not happen, so there would be no result in the chain. Okay, so that's why undefined. Now try to run this. Now let's see and assign the correct email address so we can see the correct condition. You see this, the expected output. So this email is valid, so we are returning a correct, means the execution that we are considering that if the email ID is correct, then the execution of this function is correct. So we are returning the 200 value. We are returning the value 200. So it will go into the then function. If it is going into the then function, then it will run the second promise. So the second promise result will come here. This will not get executed because this catch block belongs to this process. Okay. So the next chain of this process result is here. Okay. So the same way it's catch block can come here. Okay, although we don't have any error here now, console.log, and we can say error period. I'm not going to run this example. So finally will always be executed. So okay, so this is how we write the process, and here you can see how how convenient it is. Rather than the call function and callback function, we are able to get the result. It is successful or failed. Okay, successful result in the then block and failed result in the catch block. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we already have a callback health situation scenario here. So we will try to, you already see this function execution in the last video, um, callback health situation. Now we are going to convert this program into using that using the promises. Okay, so let me try to run this program for you, and we can say node app.js. Okay, so if you're not seen that previous video, I can just tell you that we are created a scene, we are created a functionality, dummy functionality to send an email. So sending an email required the process of creating content, validating content, formatting content, and then send email. Okay. So there are one, two, three, four process involved, and they all has to run in a sequence. But this is based on the callback function. Now we are going to do the same thing using that promise function. Just for the sake of time, I have already written the program, uh, so we can replace that, and you can see that we are doing the same thing. Okay, so here we have here we have um, same function here. Here it is prepare content. So here I have written that prepare content promise. Okay, doing the same thing, initializing the content here in the prepare content, initializing the content, and then printing the content, and then calling the function validate callback function. Okay, so I'm just going to take it from here and copy it, and let's try to talk about this. um, let prepare content promise the same thing, the executor callback resolve and result. So this promise constructor has this executor callback function, resolve and reject. Here we are assigning the email content, printing that, and we are saying that okay, we are done with our logic, and then I'm trying to result the value. Okay, if here also we are saying, so here I'm also saying, like, if content is equal to no content, means nothing is changed, the content is no content, the content has not initialize, then I'm rejecting that. Rejecting this, when you are using reject, then you are supplying some reason to fail. What was the reason to fail? Okay, and when you are supplying some value to resolve, that means you are supplying the value for result, value for successful result. Like, okay, this method got successfully done, and after the process, this is the value that I want to give you. Okay, so this is prepare content promise. Now what the next is validate content. So after preparing the content, we are going to validate the content. So we have here same thing, validate content promise. So here also the same thing, in the as in the previous program, we are validating the content. What we are doing, just replacing the underscore with space. Okay, and the same thing you can see in the result. I am in the resolve, I'm sending the okay result. And if content, this is my business logic, I can decide, okay, which case would be considered as a correct successful execution, or which case would be considered as a fail condition. Okay, but also remember, I said in the previous video, or maybe in the beginning of this video, like, the result we can sorry, the reject we can use to send the reason for, considering this method failed on the business logic also, on the business wise also. But by default, when you don't, let's say I'm not defining this method here, this condition here, but there is also a chance, let's say taking an example of here, uh, it can get uh, uh, generated, the error can be generated due to network call, IO operation, any other thing, reference issue, any coding issue, something can get error, and that will be supplied to reject. If we are not using this condition, see, we are explicitly using this reject to convince to hand over the reason of a failure of this process. Okay, because that is considered in my business logic as a failed. In my business logic, no content is considered as a fail of this method. Okay, fail of the execution of this function. So that is how we can use the reject to hand over the reason of failure to the next promise. Okay. Okay, otherwise by default we will be seeing the result of network issue, API call, or any other technical reasons. Okay, so the same validate content promise, and then formatting. We are going to replace this function with format content function. The same thing here, we are just formatting here the content, we are just changing here to uppercase, and here also you can see I am resulting the OK. In case you want to result 200, okay, or anything that is followed in your, that you are following in your real project. Okay, and here I'm considering business logic wise, okay, if the content length is greater than 30, then would be considered fail formatting. And you can see here, okay, I have to say one more thing. uh, um, so uh, so in the case of successful result, I'm returning the value okay, and if it is getting failed, I am returning a reason code also. You can see I am considering this as a reason code, but actually I should not send the content. I should send some code, like content not initialized, not initialized. Okay. Okay, fine. So you can see here the reject reason is content not initialized. Here the reject reason is invalid content. Here the fail formatting, formatting fail or fail formatting, anything that is you thought is fine. And the next promise is send email. Okay, send email. And this is our callback function hell that we are going to replace. Okay, so here in the send email promise, what we are doing, we are simply printing the content and email. Okay, uh, and then we have this promise chain. Okay, we have this promise chain. Let me correct one thing. I think email I have not initialized. Email. Okay. So here it is simple. The chain that we saw right now in the example, here we are doing the same thing, but here you can see we have catch for each chain, uh, each execution, but here we have at the end of that call, and I don't have finally block also here, but I don't worry about that. I just wanted to show something. I wanted to show how that callback function can be migrated into the promise. Okay, so console.log, I can say done. Okay. Okay. So here node app.js. Okay. You see the same result. If you see in the previous video, you will get, and I think I previously ran this. You are getting that email content initialized. I mean, this is validated. You see that email content initialized, email content validated, email content formatted, and then send. Okay, let me write this. So that is in email content plus, I can say what initialized. Okay, and here I'm just printing validated. Okay, and here I'm saying formatted, and here it's fine. Okay, so now let's run this. Everything cool? Or yeah, initialized, validated, formatted, and we are done. So this is all about the promise. This is much better than the callback function to have the asynchronous uh, control or handling the execution of the function sequence to asynchronous call also, and asynchronous call also. So that's all about this video. Thank you so much. Take care. See you.